Hi, my name is William Poplowski. I am reading the book Memories of World War II, Photographs from the Archives of the Associated Press, foreword by Bob Dole, introduction by Walter Cronkite. France, June 6, 1944. These U.S. paratroopers fixing their static lines are about to jump over Normandy on D-Day before dawn. The decision to launch the airborne attacks in darkness instead of waiting for the first light was probably one of the few Allied missteps on June 6, and there was much to criticize both in the training and equipment given to the paratroopers and glider-borne troops of the 82nd and 101st Airborne Divisions. Improvements were called after the invasion. The hard-won knowledge will be used to advantage later. Normandy, June 6, 1944. Among the objectives on D-Day, the beach code Omaha was the best fortified. Allied commanders felt it had to be taken nonetheless. To dislodge the Germans dug in between Utah Beach to the west, also assigned to the Americans. The British targeted beach codenamed Gold, Juno, and Sword to the east. At Omaha Beach, the Americans came ashore under the intense fire and took the heaviest casualties in the battle, landing about 40,000 men with 2,200 killed or wounded. This photograph is believed to show E Company 16th Regiment, 1st Division in the first wave of the attack. Normandy, France, June 6, 1944. The British fared well at Gold Beach with 25,000 landed and 400 casualties, and at Sword Beach with 29,000 landed and 630 casualties. But the Canadians at Juno Beach, 21,400 landed with 1,200 casualties, encountered fire similar to what the Americans experienced at Omaha. In both places, most of the casualties were sustained in the first hour, when the assault teams faced roughly 1 in 2 chance of being wounded. Here, wounded British troops from the South Lancashire and Middlesex Regiment are being helped ashore on Sword Beach. Normandy, France, June 6, 1944. At Utah Beach, the Americans landed about 20,000 men with 190 casualties. Here, survivors from a Higgins boat sunk by German coastal defenses are helped ashore on Utah Beach. A typical Higgins boat could land a platoon of 36 men with their equipment, or a jeep and 12 men, while maneuvering in a heavy surf. Normandy, France, June 1944. When darkness fell on June 6, about 175,000 American, Canadian, and British troops had entered Normandy by sea and air. As estimated, 4,900 were killed, wounded, or missing, 2,200 of them in the assault of Omaha Beach. Here, American soldiers lie on stretchers and sit propped against the seawall, awaiting transportation back to England for treatment after being wounded in the landings. Normandy, France, June 1944. U.S. troops continued to come ashore after the beachheads were secured. The landings were mostly completed by June 16th. A storm that lasted from June 19th to the 22nd destroyed the artificial harbor that the Americans had built on Omaha Beach. Normandy, France, June 10th, 1944. By the end of June, the Allies had landed upward of 1 million men and more than 170,000 vehicles in Normandy. The decisive fact of D-Day was that the Allies were able to establish beachheads that the enemies could not dislodge, providing the invading army with a staging area to marshal its troops and equipment and break out into France. Here, troops moved inland from Omaha Beach over ground that had been heavily contested 4 days earlier. Normandy, France, June 12, 1944. A French girl places flowers over a freshly dug grave of an American glider soldier killed in the D-Day invasion. The glider used on D-Day were crewed by a pilot and co-pilot and towed by a Curtiss C-46 and C-47 aircraft. Each could carry a jeep, a 75mm howitzer, a specially designed bulldozer, or 13 men with their supplies and equipment. Glider casualties were especially high, largely because it proved almost impossible to land in small fields patronized by all hedgerows. Carrollton, France, June 1944. The city of Carrollton, located between the two American landing beaches of Utah and Omaha, was a key early objective of Normandy campaign. It was defended by crack troops in German 6th Paratroop Regiment. It took the Americans until June 11th to mount a powerful offensive, and the city was finally cleared in the evening of June 12th. After the battle, U.S. soldiers stand on the remains of a house as they inspect damage in the city. Bayeux, France, June 14, 1944. French General Charles de Gaulle, leader of the Free French movement, is followed by a welcoming crowd as he walks through the streets of Liberty Bayou, taken on D-Day +1. This was the first day on French soil in 4 years. He was to make a triumphal entry into Paris on August 25th, and by November he was appointed the head of the French provisional government. Cherbourg, France, June 27, 1944. As the nearest major port, Cherbourg was a prime objective of the forces landed on D-Day. Germans fiercely defended the port and destroyed its installations before surrendering on June 27th. A temporary port was built, and it handled a vast quantity of war material in the ensuing months. This dead German soldier on the city's last stand defenders, Captain Earl Topley Wright, who led the first American units into the city on June 27, said the German killed 3 of his men. June 1944, a young French woman poses with British gliders troops. Cherbourg, France, July 1944. A wounded German soldier is being towed by his companions on their way to a POW camp.